Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Imskir Iron-Eater. For 6 colorless, 1 black and 1 red, it's a legendary creature demon 5/5 with affinity for artifacts, which means this spell costs 1 generic less to cast for each artifact you control, and when Imskir Iron-Eater enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is half the number of artifacts you control, rounded down, and 3 colorless red, sacrifice an artifact, Imskir deals damage equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value to any target. So this seems like a really strong commander to me, and there's a few reasons for that. The main reason I think it's good is because it's going to cover a lot of different effects that you want to have in your command zone if possible in Commander, and it actually hits multiple of them. For starters, it has card draw attached. Commanders that have card draw attached tend to be very powerful, and this guy can draw you a bunch of cards in the right deck, seeing as you're drawing cards equal to half the number of artifacts you control. Since this card also has affinity for artifacts, it's fair to say that you're going to be building around that theme quite a bit, which means that you should be drawing quite a few cards with this. You're obviously also going to be encouraged to run a bunch of mana rocks in the deck because they kind of double up the amount of mana you're getting towards your commander, which again is going to work towards the count for the card draw. So that's obviously the best part of the card, having this massive card draw on a creature that can come down fairly cheaply and that you can even recast quite easily if it gets killed, due to the nature of affinity for artifacts being capable of reducing your command attacks as well. But then there's the other ability at the bottom, and that's where I think it really gets pushed over the top, because this is just win con and removal on the commander as well as card draw. That really covers a lot of your bases, and since, as we mentioned, you're going to be running a lot of mana rocks in a deck like this, it shouldn't be difficult to find the extra mana to pay for this ability. On top of that, the body's pretty decent. It's a 5/5, which isn't that easily removed in combat. It obviously doesn't have flying, which is a little bit awkward because otherwise it could chip in, but this seems like a really powerful commander for affinity effects in general. If you end up playing a lot of very expensive affinity effects that tend to have very high mana value, then you can just sacrifice those permanents later on in the game to deal tons of damage to your opponents directly and make it very easy to close off the game when they're fairly low. Other effects that seem like they'd work really well with this guy are stuff like treasures. Yes, they are a one-off, so they'll get sacrificed when you use them, but in the meantime, they're very easy to produce, and they can get your commander down incredibly easily, and also draw you a bunch of cards then when your commander comes down, since it's possible to generate way more treasures than you could with, say, mana rocks. Other cards that seem like they're going to be very powerful in the deck are cards that make artifact tokens, so Mir Sire, for example, is a good one. You can sacrifice it at some point to deal 2 damage. You can run a bunch of artifact sacrifice effects for value, which is always nice. That then makes Marionette Master really good, and she's one of my favorite cards, so that's another great way to be dealing more damage to your opponents. Stuff like Mycosynth Wellspring seems really nice. It comes down, draws you a card, sits around helping you cast your commander, and then later on in the game you can sacrifice it to any of your effects to deal damage or to do other stuff, and it also counts towards the card draw that your commander is going to provide you. So all of those kind of artifact synergies seem very powerful in the deck. Something like Whip of Erebos is an instant include in the deck because of course it's an artifact. It's going to provide lifelink to offset the life loss from your card draw, and just being able to count towards your commander is really nice. It also means that if your commander dies, you can let it go to the graveyard, reanimate it with Whip of Erebos to get the trigger again, and then have it die, go to the command zone at the end of turn, and then recast it next turn for even more card draw. So it just seems like a very powerful commander to me when you start building around with it, particularly with how easy it is to get artifact tokens these days. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think though? Do you disagree with me, or do you think I got it right? Let me know in the comment section below. I always make sure to read all of your comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel, and until next time, take care.